So basically, how can I stand out as a candidate? And we've been touching on that. So it's like during the interview, but then how can I stand out to be that top candidate? And one of the reasons why we have this question is I think students are pulled in so many different directions. Like you've got to be captain of the team, you've got to be vice president of this, you've got to start your own company, you've got to be leading a nonprofit. I mean, it's like crazy. And oh yeah, by the way, you've got to be a student. So how can they stand out as a candidate, and how how do you look at as far as all their volunteer work and everything like that, and when you're reviewing candidates? So Tony, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, sure. So I think starting from prior to that interview, it is about, we've talked about it already, but how do you get how do you create an advantage, right, versus the 35 other people or 200 other applicants? So one of those is, again, working those networks that you have. You can also look into, like, if you've applied to a role, one way to kind of get that slight advantage might be you may not know who the hiring manager is. No one's contacted you yet. But what you could do is reach out to someone via LinkedIn and say, hey, quality manager in Florence, South Carolina. I've just applied to a QA technician role, and I'd love to see if I could spend a couple minutes with you just trying to understand, that quality organization. You may not be the hiring manager, but wanted to know if you could spend a couple minutes with me to kind of walk through what that looks like. So, just simple things like that could help you kind of get that separation and, oh, wow, this person really reached out. And when people do that with me, I may not know the role at all, but I say, help me know the job number, and I'll connect you to at least the recruiter. And all of a sudden, you've just skipped the line of that recruiter interviewing 200 or screening 200 people to someone he or she will absolutely look at now, because someone internally has said, this person reached out to me. Like, at least go look at their resume, right? So like, that's kind of a way to stick out even before you get into the process. And then, to your point again, how do you stand out? It's really that coming in prepared, really solid questions, some awareness of the industry. And, it's also great if you say, yeah, and prior to the interview, I actually connected with Marla and, in Florence, South Carolina, the QA manager, and she really helped me understand the culture a little bit. So, like, all of those things can really help separate you as that candidate. Back to the accolades and leadership, I think those are important. I would say don't over stress yourself with those things. I mean, it does help you separate if you're looking at it like top candidate to top candidate. But like, again, what we're looking for in these roles is those behaviors that show up in the interview, and your ability to convey those behaviors of learning, agility, right? The things that Lisa pointed out as well. So Lisa, I don't know if you have anything else there.
Yeah, I would say, being prepared is one of the most important things, because when you have an interview, or when you're talking to a possible recruiter or hiring manager, you may get nervous, and all you're going to hear is the wah, wah, wah. They're talking to you about their company. They may be using acronyms to describe all of the items that they do on a daily basis, and you don't have any experience working where they work. And so if you're prepared, at least you can pay attention, take notes, and ask questions. If they say that they're going, part of their day-to-day activities is to go to a QBW meeting, and you can interrupt and say, excuse me, what is a QW meeting? And then you write down what it is. So that way you can, use that information for the thank you note as well. So it all links together. It's prepared, you're calm, you can take notes, ask questions, stand out. I think that's, kind of that process for you.
Yeah. And I think, oh, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I was just going to say, Mariana had a nice comment. I'm not going to read through all that, but she's kind of sharing her advice as well. And Mariana, she's using the term the STAR strategy, which is like tell us the situation, their task, the action, and the result. That is what I'm talking about when I say, in the preparation, think about that story or that thing that happened that you're really proud of, and use that model. So, I was working on this project, and again, I just keep saying lab, but whatever the project was, you know, things weren't going well, or our timeline got cut in half. So that's the situation or the task. Then I, I found a way to improve the process or speed up the timeline. I figured if we altered our lab time or our schedule and added in one more, uh, you know, colleague, classmate, postdoc, etc., we could speed it up. Like, that's the action. And then by doing that, we were able to meet the deadline. That's the result. So really, you're just thinking about those. You all have them. It's just really stepping back and reflecting on that, and then rehearsing how you would share that story. I think that will help, as Lisa said, slow things down, because in that interview, there's a lot of wheels turning for you, and I understand that. So.
Yeah, Mariana has also had a comment about positivity, and I think that's actually very important. So when they ask questions about challenging times, or how did you overcome adversity, or what have you, don't go to negative town. Just talk about this, the specific, the specific situation. What did you do about it, and what did you learn from it? Because I think that's the other part that we are looking for, is how, your growth potential. So you were faced with adversity. What did you do about it? What did you learn? And you came out the other side with XYZ skills. So take it to your advantage and be positive and do smile. That's very important.
Yeah, and I think too, especially since you guys have had the quality science education and you know more about our industry than any other student, you can talk about perhaps lab work that you've done or a project you were working on and say, I can see how this relates to how in the industry you guys validate your process to make sure it can be done over and over again the same way. Or, you can talk about, make that linkage. But at the same time, you have to be thinking about that now while you're doing your work. Take that step back and think, I wonder how this connects with what I just learned in quality science education.
Yeah.
So it's like you're having to think on your feet about something you've never thought of.
Yeah, and really, Marla, I can't stress that enough. Like, with you all going through this program, you are at such an advantage, but you have to use that advantage, and that advantage comes through the preparation that Marla's talking about, and like in the interview. Because what I hear from some of my hiring managers, not interviewing you all as a going through this program, is, you've got this, but I don't know if they, of course they don't have the industry experience yet. Maybe some alumni or some folks that are more in advanced degrees, but it's like, but if you can speak to the knowledge and having that base, you are already separating yourselves from the rest of the pack. But it's like, you have to practice that, and there is a little bit of practice involved in how you weave that in the right way. Yeah.
Great.